one constant feeling reigns over the 130-plus year history of NC State Wolfpack football. Hope. And when there's hope, well, Pack fans can always relate. Pack family, time for a true look at your team. Expert analysis, special guests, and a Carter Finley-sized bag full of X's and O's. Let's get hooked up for Pack Therapy. Here are your hosts, Tim Donnelly and Wolfpack great Mike Lennon.
Time for another edition of Pack Therapy. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Donnelly, as always, joined by Pack legend Mike Lennon. Subscribe. Find this everywhere podcasts can be found. Find it on YouTube. Subscribe, comment, like. We would appreciate it. Today's Pack Therapy is kind of all about firsts. First ACC game this weekend. First active player going to be joining the pod this season. Shy Battle will be the second half of this pod. And first time we saw some explosive plays. We'll start with that, Mike. Like, how much can we take away actually from a VMI game?
You can definitely take away some positives. It's questions that we had, and they answered them. Again, it is against VMI, but it would be more concern if they didn't happen. But you have to give them credit. I mean, it's still an opponent in a real game, and they went out and executed at a very high level, and that's what you expect them to do. But you can't just, look past it like it didn't happen. Julian Gray really stepped up.
Yep.
Those big plays. I thought Brennan Armstrong, the ball he threw to Julian Gray, that kind of seam,
the 64-yarder to set up the touchdown to Rosner. The
best throw that we've seen this year, and honestly, going back into last year, I mean, that was a tight window throw. That's what we expect to see out of Brennan Armstrong. And other guys stepped up as well, and then also the special team. We talked about Julian Gray, the special teams plays, those big explosive plays we've been waiting for.
Interception return for a touchdown. It's not a special team, but it's a return.
Right. And so I think those explosive plays is what we've been waiting to see, and regardless of who the opponent was, it was good to see.
That long ball to Julian Gray, like I audibly sighed, like, all right, finally we got a big play on offense. Are we still waiting for Brennan Armstrong to catch his rhythm in this offense with these players, or could that kind of starting second quarter on and against VMI be the spark?
I think it could be the spark. I mean, we have to give Brennan Armstrong credit. 27 for 32. That's a pretty efficient day at the office. I thought he distributed the ball well, made a couple plays with his feet. The receivers caught the ball. There wasn't any drops that I can remember. So I think it could be the spark, and as they head into ACC play, as you talked about.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on VMI because UVA is coming up. But I do want to – it's interesting. We talked about it right at the end of last week's pod. MJ Morris doesn't go in the game. Just protecting the red shirt, you think?
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that they did that. That's what we talked about. Smart move. Mm-hmm. They put in the third string, Ethan Rhodes, and all they did was hand the ball off. That would have been absolute waste of a game if they put MJ Morris in for that.
I wanted to make sure I got Ethan Rhodes' name correct. I wanted to make sure it's spelled right and everything in my notes and tweets. And after the game, I went back and looked at the stats to find, and he wasn't even there. And I was like, now I know they put him in, so I had to go back and find the snap participation report. So MJ, you still have all 4 games, which is a nice little I don't know, something to keep up your sleeve if you are.
Yeah, I think you wait as long as you can, and honestly, hopefully you're waiting. You don't have to, and then maybe if there's 3 games left plus the bowl game, maybe that's when you play him. Because last year we saw he was supposed to play in the bowl game and didn't because of injury. But that's another game that it would totally make sense for him to get some reps in. Any of those last 4 games, including the bowl game, use it.
Yep. Let's move to UVA. I didn't mean to cut you off, but let's cut you off. Don't have all the time in the world. And ACC play starts this weekend. The first thing, and I think it's important, is Brennan Armstrong going back against UVA. I mean, this is unlike. I mean, him and Sam Hartman are the only 2 that know what it's like to be at a place 5 years and then go play another year somewhere else and have to eventually play against their school. And then you add on the fact that this is the first time he'll play against that team since the tragedy that happened with some of his teammates. It's at UVA, so he's going to be walking into a away locker room that he didn't spend much time in, but in a building that he spent a ton of time in. How can you control those emotions?
Yeah, I imagine it'll be pretty emotional for him. And
like you played 5 years at NC State. How weird would it be to go play against NC State?
Yeah, it would be It'd be unbelievably weird. Now, it happens more in the NFL, but it's not quite as big of a deal because you don't have quite the emotional attachment that you do. I did it 4 years in Tampa, second game of the season I'm in Chicago, and we go back to Tampa. And it's a weird feeling. You know, you almost feel like you're on the wrong side warming up. You go to the visitor side bench, and you're looking across, and you know every face. And then that doesn't even add the element of the whole tragedy of last year, of him going back, him being the leader of the team, the captain, of having to deal with what they dealt with. I'm sure it'll be, you know, a bunch of emotions, and it's going to be weird when he lines up and he knows that defense better than, or personnel-wise, probably better than he knows this NC State defense. But it'll be fun for him, too, to go back there and play.
Robert and I leaning on Brennan. Is it almost like an assistant coach this week?
You can definitely take away from it. Whenever I would go to another team and play, and having been in that defense, I would always meet with the defensive coordinator the week before to talk about the offense, and then in the offense talk about what the defense is, give away any signals they may have to help them out.
There's no unwritten rules on that one? I
mean,
I remember we played in college. We played against one of our old assistants, was an assistant for, and I swear we spent almost more time like redisguising our signals, like adding extra code words and everything. I don't know if it actually helped or not, but we spent a lot of time that week doing it.
Sometimes it could be like overkill, where I would meet with the defense coordinator and be like, I didn't want them to blame me. It's like, hey, they might have changed this, but this is what it was.
Yeah. When they tap their helmet, they're going to cover 2, and then now tapping their helmet is all out blitz.
You don't want to overkill it, but just a brief meeting with both sides of the ball. Maybe they're doing that this week.
UVA from a football perspective, right? Because you have to compartmentalize. If you're Brennan Armstrong, that's what you have to do. You just have to put certain things to the side once kickoff happens and focus on the game. UVA is not very good. They we're going to talk about this later, but right now the ACC against the SEC in the Big Ten is a combined 8-5, so ACC is winning. But 4 of those losses come from Virginia Tech and Virginia, so they're 8-1 outside of the Virginia schools against the other 2 kind of Power 3 conferences. And UVA struggled this year, and it's a rebuilding thing. Coach last year going through a lot, obviously, as we discussed. But what do you want to see out of NC State when it comes to getting off to the right foot in an ACC schedule where things do kind of restart a little bit?
I mean, they need to come out ready to go, because if you watch that game at all against Maryland last week, Virginia got off to a lead. I believe they were up 21-7 or somewhere in there, and they have this young freshman quarterback.
From that point on.
They struggled as it went on, but the freshman quarterback brought some juice to the team, and I don't know who they're going to be going with this week. They have the starter, but I believe he was hurt. He was a transfer from Monmouth. This guy, Anthony Colin Rea? I'm not sure how to say his name, but he looks like he's 17 years old, but he was making some plays for him. So I'm sure there's some also incentive from Virginia players. Like Brennan left us.
True. We're talking about the emotion going in that direction, the emotion in the other direction. Yeah.
But at the same time, he's kind of got a target on his back right now. So NC State can't take this team lightly. It's the first game in the ACC. Friday night, ESPN. They got to be ready to go, and let's not look past, they played well against VMI, but to this point, the offense hasn't exactly hit the ground running against either of the true FBS programs they faced.
And even against VMI, their first drive of the game was a 12-play touchdown drive, which normally a 12-play touchdown drive is awesome, but I did feel like against VMI, it's like, pick up a chunk or 2, right? You don't have to wait for VMI to get tired to suddenly be able to grab a chunk play. So starting fast, important. I've been craving creativity from the offense. I think I may have put Robert and I's offense too high on a pedestal, that he was going to come in with wild innovation. But do you save anything for ACC play? Right, like is there any form of, we just wanted to get through the first 3 games and everyone's goal is always to win the conference championship. That's the main one at the top of the leaderboard or top of the vision board, and then you go from there if it happens. Have you maybe been setting things up, right? You've run the run play 7 times in the first 3 games to set up the play action for ACC play?
I don't think so. I think, we were playing Notre Dame, you're firing all your bullets. I think maybe they're still trying to find what this offense is truly going to look like. We've talked about it a lot, but it's going to be based around the personnel, and maybe Julian Gray's more involved now. Juice Farine against Notre Dame shows up last week. We don't see him at all. So I don't feel like through 3 games, we still don't know who their go-to playmakers are. So as far as the scheme, I don't think you're holding anything back, but I still think it's finding who we're going to design our plays around to get the ball to.
The elder statesman, as I call him, Bradley Rosner, excuse me. 1 touchdown each of the last maybe. The guy's is like a 6'4", 6'5". He was a high jumper at Rice. At least in the red zone, get the guy a couple jump balls.
They threw a good fade to him in the end zone. I think it's hilarious. It looks like he's got some salt and pepper going. I mean, I don't know how many college
just
football.
For men, touch of gray.
Yeah.
I did see. By the way, we give Rosner a hard time. I think elder statesman is kind of an awesome nickname. But I just saw Miami had a tight end apply for his 9th year. Ninth. So he's the same recruiting class as Rosner. I'm thinking maybe Rosner's he's kind of looking for a loophole. Maybe 2 years at State. We're going to talk with Shy Battle coming up, so we're going to save a lot of the defensive talk for when a member of that State defense is on the show. But from a big perspective, ACC still wide open. Like it feels like State struggled a little bit against Notre Dame, and maybe the ACC play it hasn't begun at all. There's a lot of very good teams. I mentioned that there's a winning record for the ACC against the SEC and against the Big Ten this year, especially if you exclude those Virginia schools. But have the goals changed at all for NC State? Not saying I don't want to say changed because, like I said earlier, the conference championship is always the goal. Have maybe the expectations from those not in the locker room, from followers like yourself, former players, or analysts, the experts, should they have changed based on what you saw in the first 3 games?
No. NC State still has a shot. Now they have to show up, and we can't let one slip away against a team like Virginia, because if you lose to a team like Virginia, the expectations probably change. But looking at the schedule, I mean, I think this sets up favorably for them to continue to find their rhythm, to continue to get going, play Virginia, come home against Louisville, and then the ACC play starts to get a little more difficult. Play Duke, Clemson, Miami, who's looking very good with Tyler Van Dyke, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, and UNC. Anyway, the point is to start off with a game against Virginia, to come home against Louisville, who's actually playing pretty well. I think we'll find out a lot about this team in the next 2 weeks.
Last question before we take a break and get to Shy Battle. Does it being on a Friday matter at all? You have back-to-back Fridays. It's kind of weird. I mean, you started the season on a Thursday, but that's. Do you want a little extra time after a VMI game, or good to go?
No, I think that favors well, because you didn't play your starters all the way through the game, so one less day to recover. But it's you don't need it as much. I'm excited for it, to watch it on Friday night. Should be a beautiful night here to maybe watch outside somewhere, and then the following week to be able to tailgate on a Friday afternoon and then go to the game. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, pure fan perspective there. You're just all in for you.
Yeah, selfishly, I like it.
All right. Once again, this is Pack Therapy. Coming up next, we're talking with Shy Battle, a member of that NC State defense, which has really impressed me over the last couple of weeks. Welcome back into Pack Therapy. Joining us now, Shyheim Battle. He is a redshirt junior cornerback from Rocky Mount, North Carolina, longtime starter on the NC State Wolfpack. Shy, we'll start with the Brennan Armstrong element of it all. Has he given you all the inside scoop? Do you know everything about UVA from his 5 years over there with that team?
Honestly, no, I haven't, but I'm glad you said something about that. So I'm going to mention it to him so I can give me a couple tips to get ready for this game.
You need to get some of the signals, especially the go ball. That's whenever I would play a team that I was already on, I'd be like, all right, here are their signals. You don't want to overdo it, but is it time to go? Where they're tapping the wrist, is it pat on the head, pointing to the ground? So you gotta use Brennan to find out what it is.
Oh, yeah.
What I want to say, my favorite play so far this season, unfortunately, was probably explosive, or it was explosive, but it was Peyton Wilson tracking that guy down, hauling. Is Peyton Wilson the fastest guy on the defense?
I would say so. Respectfully.
Faster than a quarterback?
This guy can run. Guys can run. He hit, I think it was 22 on the GPS. I mean, I can't say I've hit 22. So he got me beat. Dude can run.
Wait, that's not the defense.
I know.
That's not the defensive back way to talk. Normally, defensive backs will lose a race and then will tell you they were faster than the person they just lost a race to. How did he must be way faster if you're so casually admitting it? Like
No. He's not way faster.
All right,
He's not way
I
faster.
wanted you to
Now
defend
we
yourself
race
here.
foot for foot, and I feel like I would definitely be right there neck and neck with him. But I seen him get up. So I give him his credit.
all right. Oh goodness. That literally just threw me off. I'm so used to defensive backs, right? The quarterback throws the ball away, and then you do like the throat slash, like you did something with it. So I respect the humble nature, but when it comes down to it, right? I mean, looking at what you've been able to do in this defense, you've been doing it for a long time now, getting better. What would you say are you started every game as a redshirt freshman in 2020. What do you think is the biggest difference between that player and what you are this year for NC State?
Definitely the experience. I would say every year the game has slowed down for me. I've picked up on new things that help me, be better on the field, learn the playbook, learning how to watch more film and taking care of my body. As I get older, I realize you got to do more recovery than just training. So, just being smarter about how I prepare for the games.
And talk about another
and
team
the guy
of yours, Aiden White, two really good corners. And, when I played, if you're playing against a really good corner, you kind of see who the guy on the other side was like, okay, I'm going to pick on that guy. But when you got two of you, what do you think? What is it like? What are those discussions between you guys when you both know you can lock down their top guy?
That's just, we look at as we compete with each other. We feel like we're both two top corners in the country. So every time we step out there, we got that confidence knowing, well, they're not going to go at me. They're going to go at him. They're not going to go at him. They're going to come at me. So we just in our mind, like, we're going to stay ready, at all times, because at the end of the day, if he's going to try us, we're going to be there to lock him down. But if he's not, then he's going to have to go somewhere else. So we always just battle it out.
Argument, if he has a bunch more pass deflections than you, is it like, well, they weren't throwing at me. They were afraid to throw at me?
Yeah, that's how I look at it. It was a quiet game. It was a quiet game. I was chilling.
Well, one of the things, right, and we break down the games every which way. This season's been a really impressive one for the defense as a whole, your secondary included. But there's been this little big play, just kind of every now and then a blip, and it's a big play by the opposing team's offense. Not as much this past weekend, but in the previous two. How much of the focus has been eliminating those one or two plays that can undo 12 great plays that your defense puts together?
It's been a lot of focus. We're just on the back end. We've been doing a lot of just making sure we're getting good communication on the blitz and knowing what the shifts are happening. Offense trying to mess with our eyes and stuff. So just communicating for us has been one of the things that we know that can help us stop making those little mistakes that can turn to disasters. And, we realized that was our problem, and we've been working on that for the past 2 weeks. So we've been getting better.
Yeah, I think the defense has played really well outside of a few plays, and those explosive plays obviously can be game changers. But what have you seen from this Virginia offense? What should we expect to see on Friday night?
I feel like they have a quarterback that want to take shots down the field. They got some big target receivers. Number 6, number 8, number 4, also a guy they have in the slot. So I feel like they're going to try to, open the field up in the air a little bit. And really, we're just on the back end, I'm telling the guys, just stay ready, be ready to make a play on the ball. Don't sleep on anybody that's outside or anybody inside. Treat everybody as an opponent that can make a play. So we're going in with our eyes open.
I feel like we know from the outside, Tony Gibson, right? We've seen his defense for so many years, that 3-3-5, he has an identity. But sometimes it's, we don't really know like the coordinators as much as maybe we know Coach Doran. Can you give us a story or two that maybe, you and Coach Gibson, you go back now, you've been around. Can you kind of let us into your guys' world and the coach outside of the X's and O's?
Yeah, Coach Gibson, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. I feel like we have a very, I want to say shaky, but we have a good relationship. So on the field, he's definitely in the zone. Like, he's a guy that you get on his bad side, you're on his bad side. But off the field, he's a great person, and he coaches me really hard every day. No matter if I'm having a great day of practice and I mess up one time, he's gonna scream at me, or if I'm having a very, very bad practice, he's gonna scream at me every play. But that's a hard criticism of coaching, and I know it's coming from the right place. But when it's time to chill and relax, he'll walk up to you and crack a joke. Crack a joke in the defensive meeting rooms, make everybody just feel good, and but when it's time to be serious, he's always serious. So I know he's a great coach. I love what he's done for us, and since he's been here, he's made this defense great. So he's doing the right thing.
And Tony Gibson's been around for a while. I feel like NC State fans know him pretty well, but one guy we don't know as well is Robert Kennedy, transfer from ODU, has a pick 6 last week, has a sack and a half. Talk about Robert and what he's brought to this defense.
Yeah, I like Rod's mentality. He's a nickel that's pretty physical. He doesn't mind getting there, making the play in the backfield. And that pick 6 he just had this past weekend was great. I was happy for him. I gave him a little block, helped him get in the end zone, so that felt good. See him celebrating the end zone, I was a part of it. But I feel like he's going to be a great player for us in the rest of the season. I'm glad he came here. He's definitely been a help for us on the defense.
Who's your idol? Who's your guy? What pro do you think you modeling your game after? You like their vibe? What are you looking up to?
Definitely Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey is one of my guys that I look up to, and Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson. So those are my two guys. Patrick Peterson, the guy I looked up to when I first started playing corner in high school. I had looked up him, and it was just drawn. Like before every game, I watch a YouTube video with Tyrann Matthew and Patrick Peterson, and it's called Two Bad Birds. Just a hype video when they was at Arizona. So it gets me going, and I just like the way he played with that swag, that confidence, and like you can't stop me mentality, and that's how I feel out there.
Yeah, I played with Patrick when I was in Arizona. Man, that guy is smooth. He can do it all. Yeah. Occasionally, he'd run a route and he looked like a receiver. He could throw the ball like an NFL quarterback. I mean, that guy, he is one smooth guy. What about from an NC State standpoint, when you were a young guy, who were some of the guys that took you under the wing that you kind of looked up to and kind of helped make you the player that you are today?
Definitely. Know you guys familiar with Moorhead, Jarius Moorhead. He was the guy that took me under his wing when I was a freshman, and Nick McLeod. Jarius Moorhead, he helped me like learn how to break down film as a freshman. I didn't really know much about how to watch film, and that was something that coaches was pretty critique on me about, learning how to watch film, learning how the scheme and stuff works. So Moorhead sat me down one day after the lift and took me through a couple film and helped me just learn the ins and out of it a little bit. And Nick McLeod was our top corner at the time, and when he was there, I was a freshman. He showed me, how to play corner a little bit, because coming out of high school, I don't know as much as I think I know. So he kind of just been the big brother. When I first got to campus, we did a couple drills together, showing me how to work my technique and, what it's going to be like out there, just getting prepared mentally for what I'm going to be facing in practice, and just understand that this game at this level is different. And I realized really fast that it was a lot faster and it was a lot different. And, I wasn't ready as a freshman, but, as time came, I got better, and, here I am now. So I look up to those guys, and I'm appreciative of those guys.
And then kind of passing it forward, right? They put you on game. Who are you putting on game? What young bull are we going to be talking about 3 years from now as one of the stud corners that's in your meeting room right now?
Yeah, I would say keep an eye out for Brandon Cisse, Jackson Vick, and Terrence Hinton. He just transferred over, but he started making a name for himself early. So I feel like those guys are going to be a guy that you can definitely count on in the future. Brandon Cisse, I feel like he's going to have a really, really bright future. He has a good head on his shoulders. He knows a lot of football, and he's humble. He's humble, willing to learn, willing to listen. So I'm expecting a lot out of him, honestly.
And in the new world of NIL, back in the day, people get a couple $100, maybe go buy some Jordans, maybe go get a tattoo. You guys, I mean, your bank account, it looks a lot different than the guys we played with. What's the purchase? What are you guys spending your money on? What's the thing now? Is it still Jordans?
guys got their preferences. Some guys like Jordans. Some guys like cars. Some guys like clothes. Like I like jewelry. I'll say that I like jewelry, so I might spend a little bit of money on some jewelry here and there. And I'm more into, I don't know. I want to say investing. I kind of like saving my money right now. I'm not really investing nothing right now, but I am saving for when I learn how to invest. Then I want to, start learning how to invest a little bit.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, the guys our age probably like quarterbacks or like cars and like jewelry and everything as well. It's just that wasn't an option. We had to top out at the sneakers. Shy, we appreciate you for taking the time. Good luck this weekend against UVA, or this Friday early game against UVA, and good luck in ACC season.
Thank you guys.